A very good evening and welcome to Conversations with Anil Banwari. I'm really happy to have a fabulous guest with me today. Her name, Aishwarya Jayashankar. She's the CEO of Hyperface Technologies. Actually, it should be Aishwarya Jayashankar. And we're going to be talking about building a credit card economy. She's a woman in a very fierce financial world. And she's been doing miracles along with her partner, RV, who she co-founded Hyperface with just about 2.5 years ago, after having a very successful career in banking and working at the back end in technology in different banks. I hand you over to Aishwarya now to tell us a bit about herself and her journey so far before we get on talking about how she's building the credit card economy in India. Over to you, Aishwarya.
Thanks a lot, Anil, for that warm introduction, and thanks a lot for having me here. I'm a digital banker turned entrepreneur. I think I've been building digital products much before banks recognized the need for digital to be a standalone vertical. So I've been lucky to work with some of the largest digital products in the country. I launched India's first digital savings account. I've worked with multiple banks, HDFC Bank, Kotak, HSBC. Last almost 3 years, I've been building Hyperface. Honestly, not very different from what I was doing at banks, but I'm definitely doing it with a much better tech counterpart, right? My co-founder built JustPay, which is one of the most premium payment products in the payment aggregators in the country. And I've been very honored to work on Hyperface. We are a credit cards as a service platform. What do? We help banks and brands offer better digitally intuitive credit cards because for long, while credit cards as a product is simply fascinating, it has been languished in a plastic lying in wallet. And what Hyperface tries to do is to make it come alive for the digital user who's looking for digital first experiences.
Fantastic. So let's get down to basics first. We are talking to a media and entertainment audience which probably doesn't understand the sea of credit cards. Or maybe some of them do and some of them don't. What exactly is a credit card and how does it function?
It's a very interesting question because I started my career in banks with credit cards. I mean, there is a joke in banks that within retail bankers, people who run credit cards always have a chip in the shoulder. Where does that come from? Because you typically have payment products, right? UPI is a classic example of a payment product. It facilitates payment between a merchant that you want to buy goods from. The second part is a lending product, a personal loan, right? The last part, which bankers typically get very little to do, but you media guys they get quite a lot to do, is the lifestyle, right? The vacations and the offers and the dazzling subscriptions and whatnot. And credit card is one product in banking, I would say, combines all three. Right, a premium credit card user needs to be made to feel like a god, be it double reward points, be it special partnerships with five-star hotels, be it milestone benefits like vacations. So credit card, I would say, is a so far it has been a credit product for the higher end of consumption, while at its basic level it is a lending plus payments product, which itself becomes fascinating. Today, the form factor might move. UPI on credit is a great example, but the fundamental philosophy of a credit card, where it becomes fascinating, is if you go today apply for a loan, every time you'll have to apply for a loan. You have to give your documents, somebody will approve you, and the money will get disbursed to your bank account. Whereas in a credit card, it is a lifetime product, a perpetuity product, as we bankers like to call it. Once you get a credit card, you have it in your wallet. There is an expiry date attached, yes, but when you're nearing that and if you've been active, they'll renew it. As and when your income grows, you can go back to the bank and ask for higher limit. Of course, as you behave better on the credit card, you're unlocking all the lifestyle benefits. So this perpetuity product in my mind is what is most fascinating because globally we look that credit access is a very important factor, right? As economies grow, the scale or the ambitions that we have for India, everybody needs to have touch and tap access to credit, which is something that happens only when an economy is growing and developing. And that it's in that context that you should look at transactional credit. If a farmer wants a loan, he can't be applying for 20 different fields and submitting forms and whatnot. Imagine being able to give a credit line on tap. I would like to believe that that is what credit card truly empowers. You have a card sitting in your wallet. Card is just a form factor. It could be a credit line. It could be a UPI on credit line as we are discussing. But imagine a credit on tap. You're not going to a bank. You're not every time submitting documents. Credit accessibility is the biggest power of credit cards, and that is giving the power to the larger economy in hands, which today hasn't happened, Anil. I'm sure we'll talk more about it.
I understand. I get that. I get that. Yeah. But let's look at the Kisan credit card, which will,
Yeah.
of course, in its best way, it really helps the farmer, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So
Are you there?
especially these communities, right, the ones which actually need credit access on top are the ones which have been long neglected by the system. As form factors evolve, right, it might not be a plastic, it could be a UPI line. I am really hoping that these kind of segments get more and better access to credit through credit line products, like a credit card offered virtually, for example, or a tap and pay on the go that we
I get
discussed
it.
about.
Not the BNPs, really. Oh, or even that is okay by you. The
BNPL
BNPLs,
right
as you
now
call
is
them.
yeah, BNPL is right now a bad word, but I think again it's a consumption-led product is how I would put it. Whereas a credit line is a demand-led product. What do I mean by that? When you're checking out and somebody tempts you saying, I might as well afford it, but you're tempting me to say pay it in three, pay it in four, etc. That is what a BNPL model does. But in a credit card, I know that I have a credit line. I go to a hospital, I pull out the card and use it. So it is inbuilt for that safer consumption versus tempting the user at a wrong point of time is how I would look at it.
And then how do these credit card issuers make money? There's also the charge card, which is not really credit as such, but which doesn't allow you to roll over, but you've got to make the payment at the end of the month.
Yeah. So charge cards in Indian context typically are very few. I mean, RBI hasn't really opened up that construct. Credit card itself, there is this term called interchange. Banks make money on the interchange. It is the merchant who pays for the interchange. The economics of it is called a four-party model. Who are the four parties? There is the customer, there is the merchant, there is the issuing bank, and the bank of the merchant. These are the parties involved, and you have Visa, MasterCard, RuPay, etc., who are facilitating it. They are able to say, okay, this is the issuing bank, I'll go ask them for money. And they do the settlements here. Coming back, the bank makes money on every transaction you do in credit cards.
Yeah.
And remember, against that money that the bank makes, you're getting a free credit period, you're getting your rewards and offers that they are peddling at you. I mean, let's face it, it's not like anybody is going to run it for charity. So there is definitely money involved here. But at the same time, the interchange is what pays for the benefits in the credit card, is what I would like to highlight. This
What is
banks
it? 4 basis points? What is it? Four
so
basis
it is
points,
not as high as
0.4%?
4. It will be anywhere between 1.8 to 2.5%. There is a reason why a bank is trying to give you a platinum card, and we are on platinum, they'll give you titanium and signature. It is because on a higher value card, right, higher denomination card, bank gets better interchange. At its highest level, it could go up to 2.5%, which means there is an inherent interest for the bank to upgrade you to a newer, shinier variant. And let's face it, each of the upper end variants also come with their own set of exclusive benefits for the user. What are the other ways bank makes money? Your fee income, your processing fee, late fee, all those items. And most importantly, because let's remember it's a lending product, right? When you decide to roll over your credit card, that is when you've started using it unwisely. The wise person should be and will be using their credit card within the 45 days to 50 days time period the bank asks them to repay it. The moment you decide to roll over, it becomes a very draconian lending product which can charge you up to 3 times more than a regular personal loan. So, which is
Wow.
why
That's
banks will tempt you to convert it to an EMI midway, etc., etc. But the fundamental philosophy as a user of a credit card is never let the balance go over to the next month. Always pay your dues in time, not just from building your credit score point of view, but also from the point of view of what would I call it as avoiding the debt trap.
We'll come to that now. Coming back again to credit cards again. RuPay, Visa, Amex, MasterCard. How does one choose a credit card, or how does the credit card choose you?
It's a fascinating topic, Anil. So we have built a product called Lit for AU Bank, which is India's first customizable card, right? There are two approaches to it. The traditional approach has been they frame the user. They say, this is my user. He's a travel
Yeah.
aficionado. She is a, lifestyle shopping lover. And this person uses it for grocery and bill payment. I'll give them a very basic cashback card where the cashback is capped. So typically, banks approached it in a fixed mindset, so to speak, where they defined the user and built a card for the user. But with modern platforms like Hyperface, now what we are doing is giving the power in the hands of the customer and saying, you take a card and you decide the benefits you want, right? I mean, I'm going to travel in April, May, and June. I would love to have a 0 4XP or a lounge
Uh,
access. Whereas,
Okay.
come July, I'm paying bills and I opt for a 5x reward points on grocery and bill payments. So today, credit cards are getting reimagined as we speak. But typically, banks go with this whole mindset of mass premium, affluent. Typically, customers get graded, and your spend patterns get dissected, and you figure out what is it that will be attractive for them. On the upper end, you'll have an Amex Black or a Diners Club, those kind of products. For a early salaried person coming in, it could be a cashback credit card you start with. But as the variants go up, there is, there is Maslow's hierarchy play here, Anil. Remember what I said in the beginning. There is a lot more of lifestyle aspect to credit card. There is scarcity. For example, a lot of Amex premium variants are invitation only. There are entry fees that
Especially the
increases
black.
as the
Especially the
card
black.
becomes more.
Yeah. Especially the black is invitation only.
Yes, yes. So these a lot of these are also creating that. I mean, you are all the. I'll be preaching to the choir if I were to talk luxury branding to media and marketing professionals here. So, but that's really how it is structured. As you go up to the top of the most premium, most card variants, it becomes far and few between, and the banks get very, very selective in offering those kind of benefits. But I would say today, if you're somebody who's having a annual income of 10 to 15 lakhs, you will be able to find a good credit card from any of the, if not the, what should I say, top 3 4 banks. Definitely, in fact, you will get better products from the challenger banks because they want to get more credit cards. So I would say to find a good credit card is a matter of either going with the approach of, okay, this is what I'll be continuously doing, or no, I will go for a card that suits my varied lifestyle and accordingly choose the products available like AU Bank Lit.
I understand, so, but there is a fear amongst many people. If I get a credit card, I'll actually go on to becoming a. I'll go on to spending a lot more because I have that. I have that capacity. It's not cash. It's plastic. It's virtual cash that I'm spending otherwise, which I have to pay at some stage. So there's a fear in many people's mindsets that credit cards are bad.
No, no, this is absolutely fair. In fact, this fear is also in the mind of our regulator. For example, today you don't get a card that's just active and you get all the limits opened up for you. You'll have to go to your bank app and you should decide which channel. If you're spending in online, how much you want to spend in online. If you can set monthly limits. So credit card is a product. I agree with you that it needs careful handling. But that is where we need to go back to the fundamental tenets of using that product, which is as long as you're paying within your due date. This is a fantastic product. In your bank account, in your savings account, transfers through any of those Google Pay such apps, you're not going to be getting reward points, you're not going to get fancy vacations, etc. etc. But a credit card, when you use it wisely, will give you quite a lot of benefits. And you're getting a free credit period, which is a boon in itself, right? We just need to be sure. Here we go back to the old tenets around savings, right, Anil? First save, then spend. And in your spend pool, decide how much you want to spend on credit cards every month and ensure that you don't cross the line. But
Right.
psychologically, because the money is not getting debited immediately, there is a mindset to overspend. That is a problem with any overspending. In digital channels, I've heard people, my parents' generation, say that when it was cash, we were aware of it going out. With UPI, that awareness is low, right? You just press a button and the payment is done, right?
Absolutely.
So, so these are all things I think we need to safeguard ourselves any which ways, and credit cards, if used right, could be a great payment instrument.
Yeah, with so many freebies that they give, with all the benefits, with all the loyalty points, with all of that, how can how can credit card firms still be profitable, and how can they offer such heavy discounts when they partner with, let's say, a Chroma or with a Geo store? How can they offer all of these benefits and discounts?
It's a fairly interesting, I would say, triangle, right? There is the bank, there is the customer, and there is a manufacturer here. Let's take the example of the Apple partnership that HDFC Bank has long had, right?
Yeah.
It is great for Apple because HDFC Bank is one of the largest corporate salary accounts. A Google, those level of companies prefer giving a savings account, corporate salary account from a HDFC Bank. So they have a pool of young customers that Apple is looking for. Now, this user, when he comes into the store, between Apple and HDFC Bank, they can agree on a volume, right? The bank will, I'm just giving an example. I'm not an insider in the bank I'm quoting, but typically how it happens is there is a volume commitment that the brand gives. And for
Yeah.
the volume commitment, because you're saying I'll give you 10,000 phones order or fridge order or whatever it is, you are ready to say, okay, if you're going to give me 10,000, this can be worked out. So it operates at scale. Nobody really is bleeding a lot. And remember, there is an interchange involved for the bank, which is where this money will come from. So there is more interchange. There is something that's called as merchant subvention, which is could be the marketing money that the Apple or the Chromas of the world have, right? And lastly, bank has their budget to keep you active, etc. Because once you're taking out your card and spending, you're not stopping at Chroma. There is a chai point outside that you'll go and use it, and there will be something else in the mall. So this is also habituating the user. So typically, the way these offers work is, like I said, it's a triangle of all these entities coming together to give offers, and each of them it's synergic also. For the user, you get the benefit. For the merchant, they are getting a guaranteed sales volume, and for the bank, it becomes an engagement point to the user that. And none of them really are bleeding. Let's not worry about that.
Yeah, they're pretty profitable despite
Yeah.
all that. One
Yeah.
would think as a consumer, oh, this is great stuff. I mean, and then after that, then you start thinking, will these guys be making money if they're giving me so many discounts? I understand the volume and the bulk discounting that they get, but as a whole, it's a very tricky balancing act every year that the
Absolutely, absolutely. Which is
credit
why
card
in
issue.
year end, you will in the period end, bank will suddenly send you 10 reminders to sell, get an Apple phone. For example, yes, these could be a tricky rope. There are banks which have mastered it. There are retail stores which specialize in it. There are people who are still learning or in the edges and peripherals of it. So, if you notice as a category, mobile phones have cracked this really well. Consumer
Okay.
durables, I would say not so much. The kind of discounts that you're able to see in a Flipkart app is still not what you're getting at the retail store. So I think if you break it up, you'll realize that some of them are doing this much better than the others.
Okay, great. So now, you have uh, bank cards, then you have co-branded cards. Tell us a little bit more about co-branded cards and how does that function?
The co-branded cards is very fascinating from a brand practitioner point of view because if you go to a market like US, right, every store worth its salt will have a store card, store credit, and a co-branded credit card. Now, here
Sure.
again, what is happening? My brand itself is a statement, is how every brand looks at it. I want the customer to use my brand more, see my brand more. A. Second,
Okay.
is my customer coming back to me? It's a question that especially in this world of fleeting customer attention, getting customer interest and repeat purchases is very important for brands. So this is where they say the payment instrument part of and the lifestyle part of a bank credit card kicks in, and they go to the bank and say, "Hi, I have a loyal user base. Day to day use these things. I would love to give something for them. I know you are sitting with a kitty of 2%. Why don't we make it a shared pool? Because I'm ready to pay if this customer gives me a certain volume." So the bank and the brand sit together and create a card that echoes the ethos of the brand, right? If you're and there are enough co-brands in the market, so how reflective of it is? So the co-brand itself becomes an extension of what the brand wants to say. There is a static. Where is the advantage for the bank today if the bank was to go find travel aficionados by themselves versus the bank going and partnering with a travel app? That is where the brand play comes in, where the bank is able to find a good pool of users to whom they can offer a credit card, and there is a safety net built in because in bank parlance we call this stability, Anil. The fact that you're a
Sure.
repeat user of a brand in itself is a stability factor. So for example, a
Okay.
grocery chain which wanted to issue a co-branded credit card told us, I have verified addresses. Bank doesn't have to do address verification. Just imagine the power of the data that brands have today. You have purchase data, you know the location where the customer is coming from, and it all gives a lot of additional comfort to the bank versus just giving a card to anybody. So a co-branded credit card, again, it comes back to the benefits of the parties, right? For a bank, it is a ready available pool of users who are more reliable, and for the co-brand, it is an opportunity to extend their brand and make an additional revenue on what typically is a cost item. If you talk to a CMO today, loyalty is seen as a cost item. But the moment it's a
Sure.
co-branded credit card, because bank is acquiring your users, there is money on the table for the bank and the co-brand. Now, when you add somebody like us in the mix, we make the tech part of it also really simple.
Okay, coming back, I'll come back to that later. Now, in terms of these co-branded cards, it's in its very nascent stage in India currently. I mean, we don't have too many. The co-branding kind of phenomena has yet to take off. If I'm correct, you've got handful of cards which
Actually,
have.
this has been significantly improving. Very interesting, because when we did our pitch deck 3 years back, the original one, uh, about 1 out of 5 cards issued were co-branded credit cards. Today, 1 out of 3 credit cards issued are co-branded credit cards. So, co-branded credit card is a space. While of course, when you compare it with a market like a USA, then that comes back to credit card itself, Anil. India just barely 100 million credit cards. Whereas a market like US, they have 4 to 5 credit cards per customer. We have barely zero point 0.5 or zero point 0.05 credit cards per customer. So inherently, we have lower credit cards, so that's reflective on co-brands. But as a ratio to total credit cards and co-branded credit cards, India is definitely improving by leaps and bounds. There have been massive success stories like Amazon ICICI Bank, where the bank literally has doubled their customer base. Whatever they had done in credit cards for like 9, 10 years before the Amazon partnership, today Amazon alone has helped them achieve those numbers. So there have been a lot of success stories inspiring brands to sort of start thinking about it seriously and launch co-brands.
So, is it just the e-com guys, or is it also the retail chains? Because I haven't come across too many retail chains. Or you can have the e-com, the travel guys, the online D2C marketplaces, or is it spreading also to retail chains?
Of course, like Shopper Stop is one of the oldest co-branded credit cards, right? Shopper Stop, Citibank.
Yes, that's true.
That retail is undergoing post-COVID, which is the whole digitization need, is reflective here also. There is enough and more petrol, PCL, and all those credit cards that we have always used, right? Now, the problem for these products today is digitization. A customer today wants to consume the product digitally. So, if a retail brand has a strong online presence, then they are able to compete in terms of the customer experience on the credit card. Else, for example, even brands like Fab India, brands like Nature's Basket, they all have a co-branded credit card. The challenge really comes in giving that experience digitally to the user instead of telling them go to the mobile app of the bank and use that credit card. And again, that's where what we do comes in. Can we help these brands create a better digital experience of the co-branded credit card within their own digital properties is something that we solve for a type of phase.
How do you prevent the credit trap from hitting consumers, especially the Indian consumer? America is the education loans are going berserk. You have a lot of people going and overbuying, over purchasing, especially in America. How do we prevent that from recurring in India?
Where the American development wave has gone, right? I would say India is still, we are very much in the early days, and we don't necessarily have to follow the American model, right? We have always been, what should I say? We've been very, very consciously saving more. And typically, a lot of World Bank data suggests that the saving rates are higher in underdeveloped and developing nations versus developed ones. So, as we move towards developed economy and as the customer confidence grows, when I know that I'll have a job, when I know that I'm going to earn a salary, it is obvious that I'll end up improving my lifestyle, maybe borrow more, which is the pattern that we have started to see. But here, Anil, I'm counting on our fundamental philosophy to save for a rainy day. As a culture, I don't think Indians tend to overspend and get into debt leverage. Hopefully, a generation from now will continue to be there. I think that's where banks and financial institutions play a crucial role in terms of credit awareness. So, one thing that even bankers acknowledge is with this whole proliferation of lending apps, right? What interestingly has happened is credit score awareness. If you go and see data from
Yeah.
bureau like Sibyl, etc., customers coming in and saying, "Tell me what is my credit score," is actually on the rise. Because as I borrow, I start realizing the effects of borrowing also. The next level to me is conscious borrowing, but I think we are becoming a, I wouldn't say a credit excessive nation. We are becoming a credit aware nation, and I'm hoping it translates into a responsible credit equivalent, is how I would put it. I am not worried that we'll end up chasing the American model. Hopefully that won't happen.
So you're happy about the financial literacy that has come about. You said a lot of people are going and asking, but is that in the metros or is it in smaller towns or is it
I think
happening
this data is
in
across,
villages?
because that's where digital has played a big role, right? It has leveled out your what you call as tier B, tier C. So there is a partner of ours called Pepper Money. They actually launch city-based cards. They've launched a card in Indore, prepaid card. They've launched a card in Lucknow, and the kind of response they are seeing is phenomenal. Markets are growing in India.
Okay.
So there definitely the divide of urban, rural, and all that has come down quite a bit. The physical infrastructure obviously needs to keep up with that, but definitely because of the digital this thing and digital first products coming in from banks due to the post pandemic requirements has helped in sort of leveling the field, I would say, between these tier A, tier B sort of locations.